I'm back, reborn as the one thing everyone loves to hate, a washed-up trust fund kid married into a family that despises him. My wife, drop-dead gorgeous, but with a personality colder than a polar vortex. Honestly, I'm done. I decided to just coast, to finally enjoy life for a change. But my ice queen wife, I think she got the wrong script. I died. An all-nighter at my dead-end job, fueled by cheap coffee, finally did me in. A heart attack in my tiny studio apartment. Then I lived again. I woke up in a king-sized bed big enough to sleep 5 of me. My head throbbed like someone had force-fed a terabyte of data directly into my brain. Foreign memories were decompressing at a frantic pace, making my temples pound. My name is Ethan Crawford, 28 years old, the black sheep of one of New York's wealthiest families. A good-for-nothing playboy who knew nothing but booze and women. One drunken night, I knocked up some B-list actress, and the family patriarch, my grandfather, finally had enough. He cut me off, kicked me out, and shipped me off to this backwater city, Crestview, to be married off into the Sterlings, a family with new money and a desperate need for a connection to our name. My wife, Luna Sterling, is known as the most beautiful woman in Crestview. Unfortunately, she's an ice queen. In the memories flooding my brain, we've been married for a year. We've spoken less than 10 sentences to each other. We live under the same roof, but in separate bedrooms, strangers who occasionally pass in the hallway. The way she looks at me, it's always a mix of detached politeness and pure, undiluted disgust. To her, I'm Ethan Crawford, the failure cast out by his own family. The biggest stain on her otherwise perfect life. As the last of the memories clicked into place, I let out a long, slow breath. In my last life, I ground myself into dust, only to die hunched over a keyboard. This life, I've got the old money background, even if I'm temporarily on the outs, a face that I, looking in a mirror, would kill for, a sculpted six-pack, and a beautiful wife, in name at least. Isn't this the early retirement I always dreamed of? Why the hell would I keep grinding? Time to coast. I'm officially checking out. From this day forward, my only goal is to eat, drink, and be merry. As for my ice queen wife, I'll just think of her as a highly paid, very beautiful housekeeper. She can't stand me, and I have no interest in trying to kiss up to a brick wall. Just as I was mapping out my glorious future of doing absolutely nothing, the bedroom door clicked open. Luna walked in. In my new memories, she was always in a severe business suit, her hair pulled back into an immaculate bun, her face a mask of cold professionalism. But today, she was wearing a set of pink, cartoon print pajamas. Her long hair was down, tumbling over her shoulders. No makeup, and that stunning face of hers was missing its usual frost. Instead, it held a trace of cautious nervousness. I rubbed my eyes, wondering if I was still dreaming. Honey, you're awake." Her voice was soft, almost a whisper, with a syrupy sweetness to it. A jolt went through me. I nearly shot out of bed. Honey, what did she just call me? In a year of marriage, she's either called me Ethan with all the warmth of a tax audit, or just a pointed you. Hearing honey from her was more terrifying than a horror movie jump scare. I stared at her, alarm bells screaming in my head. Something is wrong with this woman. Very wrong. Could it be she was reborn, too? Or possessed by a ghost? Are you okay? I asked tentatively, my voice rough from sleep. My stare made her cheeks flush. She nervously twisted the hem of her pajama shirt between her perfect, delicate hands. "I am fine. I just saw you drink a lot last night, so I wanted to make you a smoothie to help with the hangover." She held up a tray and walked toward me, step by cautious step. Her eyes, usually as cold and distant as the moon, were now like pools of water in spring, shimmering with an emotion I couldn't begin to decipher. I watched her, wary, instinctively shrinking back against the headboard. This is too good to be true. There has to be a catch. This woman is definitely up to something. She sat on the edge of my bed, and a faint scent of gardenias washed over me. It was nice, but I couldn't let my guard down. "So, it's my first time making one. Want to try it?" She scooped up a spoonful of a sickly green liquid, blew on it gently, and held it to my lips. I saw a faint red mark on her pale wrist, a small burn. I glanced from the burn to her eyes, which were filled with a mixture of hope and anxiety. My internal alarms got even louder. What kind of game was this? Poison, Didn't seem likely. Who serves poison in a bowl from crate and barrel? Maybe she was trying to lull me into a false sense of security before making me sign something. Like divorce papers that left me with nothing? Yes, that had to be it. I smirked inwardly, but kept my face neutral. I opened my mouth and swallowed the spoonful of green sludge. The taste was an experience. Sour, bitter, with a distinct undertone of burnt kale. But I swallowed it without flinching and said flatly, "It's fine." You would have thought I'd just handed her the moon. Her eyes lit up, sparkling like a night sky full of stars. Really? I'm so glad you like it. I'll make it for you every day from now on. Please don't. She put the bowl down, but kept staring at me. Her gaze wandered over my face before settling on the open collar of my pajama shirt. I'd just woken up, so the shirt was a mess, revealing a solid chest and the faint outline of my abs. I watched as her face turned a shade of crimson, so deep it was almost comical. Even her breathing seemed to speed up. Then, she did something that made my brain short-circuit. She reached out a single slender finger. Trembling, she gently, cautiously poked my stomach. The muscle was firm, warm to the touch. Her fingertip was cool, like a snowflake landing on hot iron. My entire body went rigid. "Whoa," she whispered, her eyes wide. "It really is hard." As if realizing how bold she'd been, she snatched her hand back like she'd been zapped by static, her face now completely on fire. She ducked her head, refusing to look at me. I took a deep breath. Okay, I'm sure of it now. This woman wasn't reborn. She wasn't possessed. She's been replaced by an alien. It took me the entire morning to even begin to accept the new reality. My wife's personality had done a complete 180. She was no longer the ice-cold CEO. She was a clingy, kind of adorable, slightly boy-crazy girl. She'd make me breakfast, which always tasted bizarre, but was filled with good intentions. She'd sneak a touch of my abs when she thought I wasn't looking, then blush to herself like a cat that had just stolen a canary. When I was watching TV on the couch, she'd curl up next to me like a kitten, resting her head on my lap, shifting until she found the perfect spot before closing her eyes with a contented sigh. I'd sit there, completely frozen, not daring to move a muscle. A strange current shot up from my thigh to my spine, making my whole body tingle. Who the hell could handle this? In my past life, I was a virgin for over 20 years. I'd never even held a girl's hand. Now, a stunningly beautiful woman was using my leg as a pillow, her warm breath ghosting across my skin, her hair tickling me. I could feel a certain part of my body starting to betray me in a very embarrassing way. Crap. I grabbed a throw pillow and casually placed it over my lap. "Aren't you busy?" I cleared my throat, trying to break the dangerously comfortable silence. Luna snuggled deeper, getting even more comfortable. "I don't want to go to the office today," she said, her voice lazy. "I want to stay with you." My heart skipped a beat. Not go to the office. The Luna from my memories was a certifiable workaholic. 365 days a year. She practically lived at her company. Had health frozen over. "Is everything okay at work?" "Everything's fine," she said, looking up at me, her eyes sparkling. "Nothing is more important than you, honey." That cheesy line hit me out of nowhere. I could feel my face getting hot. "Stay calm, Ethan. Stay calm. She has to have a motive. Maybe this is a test, to see if I'm still the same useless leech I used to be." "Yeah, that's it." I took a deep breath, trying to appear mature and responsible. "You should still take care of business. Don't let me get in your way." Luna pouted. "But I just want to be with you." As she spoke, she took my hand and began to play with my fingers. Her hand was so soft, so small. Mine easily enveloped it. Her fingertips traced lazy circles on my palm, a feather-light touch that was driving me crazy. I felt like I was about to spontaneously combust. Just then my phone rang. Saved by the Bell. I quickly pulled my hand away and grabbed it. The caller ID read Wallace. My eyes on the inside. The one guy the old Ethan still had at Crawford Industries back in New York. One of my few loyal men. Of course, he was loyal to the exiled screw-up Ethan, not me. But now he was mine. "Yeah," I answered, my voice back to its usual cool tone. "Mr. Crawford." Wallace sounded like he was on the verge of tears. "It's bad. The Davenports. They've launched a hostile takeover. They've partnered with a bunch of hedge funds, and they're coming at us hard. We're about to go under." "The Davenports?" My brow furrowed. A name surfaced from the sea of memories. Victoria Davenport, my ex-fiancée, the heiress of the Davenport dynasty in New York, a woman whose ice queen reputation rivaled Luna's. But her coldness was different. Luna's was a quiet frost. Victoria's was a biting, contemptuous blizzard. She despised me, thought our arranged engagement was the ultimate humiliation. The second I was exiled by my family, she broke it off, got engaged to the heir of another major family, the Harrisons, and became the laughingstock of the New York elite for a week. Now what was she up to? What's the panic? I asked, my voice utterly calm. Sir, how can I not panic? They have billions in capital lined up. They're trying to wipe us out. The board is in a full-blown meltdown. Wallace was practically screaming into the phone. I yawned and leaned back against the couch, getting comfortable. Oh, billions, you say? My tone was as casual as if I were asking about the weather. Luna, still resting her head on my lap, looked up at me curiously. I smiled at her and mouthed, "It's nothing." Then, back into the phone, I said, "All right, I get it. It's a minor issue. You guys handle it. Don't bother me." "What?" Wallace was floored. "Sir, this is a multi-billion-dollar takeover. It's not a minor issue. How are we supposed to handle it?" I said, my voice turned cold. "What do I pay you people for? If you can't handle something this small, what good are you? Don't call me again. I'm busy with my wife." I hung up, and just like that, the world was quiet again. I tossed my phone aside and looked down at Luna. She was staring up at me, her big, watery eyes filled with pure adoration. "Honey, you were so cool just now." I blinked. "Cool? Yeah." She nodded emphatically. Like a master strategist, deciding the fate of thousands from your armchair. Unflappable in the face of disaster. It's so attractive. Lady, you have a serious misunderstanding of the situation. I genuinely did not want to deal with that. I just want to coast. What do I care about a billion-dollar takeover? Let the world burn. I have a team of highly paid sharks for a reason. I just want to be a useless, kept man, cuddle with my suddenly sweet wife, and live a life of blissful laziness. Is that too much to ask? I hadn't looked at the caller ID, but Luna had. After I hung up, her expression turned a little serious. "Was that Victoria Davenport?" she asked. I was surprised. How did she know? Oh, right. The messy history between the old me and Victoria was gossip fodder for the entire upper crust. As my wife, Luna would have known all about it. "Yeah, her family's company is making some moves," I said, downplaying it. But Luna sat up straight, a grave look on her face. "Is she bullying you again?" Her eyes started to get red, as if she were the one being wronged. "It's all my fault. The Sterling family is too small. We can't help you. We can only watch as she pushes you around." I stared at her, on the verge of tears, my head starting to ache. "Lady, your imagination is working overtime. Who's bullying me? I'm having a great time. Thank you very much. Don't worry about it. It's a small problem. It'll be resolved soon." I reached out to pat her head, to comfort her. My hand froze midair. Are we at the head-patting stage yet?" But Luna leaned in, rubbing her head against my palm like a kitten seeking affection. "I trust you, honey," she mumbled. "But you don't have to pretend to be strong for me. I know it's hard, handling everything by yourself." It's really not hard. I really just want to do nothing. Why does nobody believe me?" Just then, the doorbell rang. Figuring it was the food delivery, I got up to answer it. Standing on my doorstep was someone I never expected to see, Victoria Davenport. She was dressed in a tailored white pantsuit, her hair in an elegant updo, makeup flawless, radiating power. 2 bodyguards in black suits flank her. She was clearly not here for a friendly chat. When she saw it was me, the disdain in her eyes was palpable. "Ethan, I thought I'd find you hiding in a corner somewhere, crying," she said, crossing her arms, her chin tilted up like a proud peacock. I leaned against the doorframe, lazily cleaning out my ear. "Don't you have a corporation to run? What brings you all the way out to my humble little corner of the world?" "I came to see the pathetic state you're in now that you're a stray dog," she sneered. "So, how does it feel to be in my crosshairs? I suggest you sign over your shares quietly. I might even consider leaving you enough cash so you don't starve on the streets." I looked at her smug, self-satisfied face and had to stifle a laugh. "Victoria, are you giving yourself a little too much credit?" "Too much credit?" She laughed like it was the funniest joke she'd ever heard. "Ethan, you can't possibly still think you're the golden boy of the Crawford family, do you? You're nobody now. A complete waste of space. Without the Crawfords, you are nothing. Oh, I raised an eyebrow. Just then, Luna came up behind me. She'd changed out of her pajamas and into a simple white dress, her long hair flowing over her shoulders. She looked ethereal, like a fairy bathed in moonlight. She walked to my side, naturally took my arm, and leaned against me like a delicate bird. Honey, it's drafty out here. Let's go back inside. Don't mind the pests. Her voice wasn't loud, but it carried clearly to Victoria. The color drained from Victoria's face. Her gaze shot like daggers from Luna to me, then fixated on the hand Luna had wrapped around my arm. Her expression was a mix of shock, confusion, and a sliver of jealousy, a feeling she probably didn't even recognize in herself. Luna Sterling? Victoria's voice was ice. What did you just call him? Luna looked up, meeting her gaze with a sweet smile, but her tone was rock solid. I called him my husband. Is there a problem, Ms. Davenport? Husband. The word was like a slap across Victoria's face. She knew our marriage was one of convenience. She was sure Luna hated me just as much as she did. She had probably imagined that the moment I fell from grace, Luna would be the first to cut ties, maybe even kick me while I was down. But the scene in front of her shattered that reality. Luna wasn't just not disgusted by me, she was defending me? So intimately? Are you insane? Victoria stared at Luna in disbelief. Luna, do you have any idea what's happening to him? He's about to be bankrupt. You'll go down with him. Luna smiled. It was a bright, beautiful smile, but it had a sharp edge. Bankrupt? Ms. Davenport, aren't you a little overconfident? She paused, then stood on her toes and gave me a light peck on the cheek. I believe in my husband. He's the best. No matter what happens to him, I'll be by his side. As for you, Luna's gaze swept over Victoria's slightly agape mouth. A woman my husband dumped has no right to stand here and criticize him. Boom! Something exploded in Victoria's head. Her face went white, and she swayed on her feet. Dumped? Luna Sterling actually said that Ethan dumped her? How was that possible? It was Victoria Davenport who couldn't stand the worthless playboy who initiated the breakup. You're lying. Victoria was trembling with rage. I wrapped an arm around Luna's waist, pulling her closer, and whispered in her ear with a small laugh. Honey, why waste your breath on a mad dog? Let's go inside. My voice was just loud enough for Victoria to hear. Her face instantly went from white to a deep, bruised purple. Mad dog? Ethan Crawford, this useless piece of trash. Dare to call her a mad dog? Ethan, you get back here, she shrieked hysterically. I didn't even glance back. I just steered Luna inside and shut the door with a solid thump. Her twisted face and piercing screams were finally gone. Inside, Luna was still clinging to my arm, her body trembling slightly. I looked down and saw that her eyes were red. What's wrong? Did she scare you? I asked gently. She shook her head, then looked up at me with pleading eyes. Honey, did I just cause more trouble for you? Looking at her pathetic, tear-streaked face, my heart softened. No, you were perfect. I reached up and wiped a tear from the corner of her eye. You're my wife. Defending me is your right. She broke into a teary smile and nodded fiercely. Yeah, from now on, if anyone tries to bully you, I'll bite them. She shook her little fists, trying to look tough. It just made me laugh. This girl was really something else. With the door shut, the world was finally quiet. I thought Victoria might hang around outside making a scene, but the silence came quickly. She probably stormed off in a huff. I looked down at Luna, who was still nestled against me like a little quail, and my mood lifted inexplicably. Having a wife who had my back like this, it wasn't bad at all. Okay, it's over, I said, patting her back. She just held on tighter, burying her face in my chest. Her voice was muffled. Honey, is your company really going to be okay? That woman seemed so vicious. She's not really going to make you go bankrupt, is she? I had to laugh. Relax. Her amateur hour tactics aren't even a warm-up for my team. I was telling the truth. The old Ethan might have been a screw-up, but grandfather had left him with a team of sharks. That team, led by Wallace, was made up of Wall Street killers who could play the markets in their sleep. They were leagued beyond a hot-headed rich girl like Victoria. She thought that just because I was exiled, I was a toothless tiger. She had no idea this tiger was just too lazy to move. If she actually managed to piss him off, he'd swallow her whole without a second thought. Really? Luna looked up, her eyes still filled with worry. Of course. I gently pinched her cheek. The skin was silky smooth, and I didn't want to let go. When have I ever lied to you? She thought about it for a moment and seemed to realize it was true. As much of a jerk as the old Ethan was, he'd never actually lied to her. She finally relaxed, a smile returning to her face. So, what are we having for lunch? She asked, batting her eyelashes at me expectantly. What do you want to eat? I want you to cook for me. I froze. Me? Cook? In my past life, I knew how to make a few basic dishes. But this life, according to my memories, this rich boy had never even stepped foot in a kitchen. I don't know how to cook, I said honestly. Luna just gave me a look that said, I know what you're really thinking. I know, you were the great Ethan Crawford, you never had to lift a finger. But things are different now. We're husband and wife. We should experience these little things together. She took my hand, swinging it gently, her voice turning pleading. Please? Honey, I want to taste something you made for me with your own hands. It doesn't even have to be good. Looking into those sparkling eyes, I heard myself agree before I could stop it. Fina, it's just cooking. What's the big deal? For the sake of my glorious, lazy future, I could suck it up and cook a meal to keep the landlady happy. And so, for the first time in this life, I was dragged into the kitchen by Luna. The kitchen was huge, filled with every state-of-the-art appliance you could imagine, all of them so new they looked like they'd never been used. I opened the fridge. It was stocked with the finest ingredients. A5 Wagyu from Japan, lobsters from Maine, you name it. I fell silent. This stuff, I had no idea how to cook any of it. The extent of my culinary skills was scrambled eggs and maybe a grilled cheese. Luna saw my predicament and giggled behind her hand. It's okay, we can learn. She pulled out her phone and found a tutorial video for scrambled eggs. See? This one's easy. I watched the simple steps on the screen and nodded. Okay, this I can handle. I got a few eggs in a pan and started to get to work. Luna stood beside me, her chin resting on her hand, watching me with an expression of pure adoration. Honey, even the way you hold a knife is so cool. Honey, you crack eggs like a professional chef. Honey, could you please be quiet for a minute? I finally snapped. Her staring was making me nervous. Luna's face fell. Oh, she shut her mouth, but her bright, shining eyes remained glued to me, not wavering for a second. I took a deep breath and tried to ignore her gaze, focusing on the task at hand. Maybe it was because I was out of practice. While I was chopping some chives to go with the eggs, the knife slipped. Hiss! A thin line of red appeared on my fingertip. Honey, you're bleeding. Luna was more panicked than I was. She yelped, grabbed my hand without thinking, and stuck my bleeding finger in her mouth. I turned to stone. A warm, soft sensation enveloped my fingertip. A tingling current shot through my entire body. I could feel her small tongue gently dabbing at the cut. My mind went completely blank. What was she doing? Luna seemed to realize how intimate her actions were. Her face flushed a deep, immediate red. She let go of my finger and took a step back like a startled rabbit, her head bowed. I saw on TV that saliva disinfects things. She mumbled. I looked at her earlobes, which were so red they looked like they were bleeding, and my throat went dry. I swallowed hard. Right, I managed to choke out. The atmosphere in the kitchen instantly became charged. Besides the smell of cooking eggs, the air was now thick with a sweet, heavy tension. And right on cue, my phone rang again, shattering the moment. It was Wallace. I grabbed it like a lifeline and walked out onto the balcony to answer. What now? My voice was hoarse. Mr. Crawford. Wallace's voice was electric with suppressed excitement. We did it. We won. I raised an eyebrow. Oh, that was fast. Yes, sir. Your feint and flank strategy was brilliant. Wallace was so excited he was barely coherent. We put up a front of defending against their takeover, but secretly we pooled all our capital and launched a counterassault on the Davenport's main holdings. They had to pull back to save themselves. We didn't just avoid losses, we managed to acquire several of their key assets at a bargain. Sir, we made a killing. I listened to Wallace's report, completely baffled. Feint and flank? Counterassault. When the hell did I give that order? Didn't I just say, you guys handle it? Sir, how did you come up with that? It was a stroke of genius. That little girl Victoria Davenport thought she could challenge you? She was completely out of her league. I was silent for a moment, then said slowly, "Stay humble, Wallace." "Yes, yes. Of course, sir. You're a master of strategy, operating from the shadows. I understand completely." You don't understand a damn thing. I really, truly did nothing. Is my entire team this good at jumping to conclusions? They're a bunch of overachievers. All I want to do is coast. Why are you all so determined to paint me as some kind of business prodigy? I'm so tired. I hung up and went back to the kitchen. Luna had already plated the rather unappealing-looking scrambled eggs and was waiting for me with hopeful eyes. "Honey, try it." I met her expectant gaze, took a bite. A bit salty, but I nodded anyway. "It's delicious." Her face immediately broke into a huge grin, like a kid who'd just been given candy. "Great. Honey, you're the best." Looking at her smile, the frustration I felt over my hyper-competent staff instantly vanished. Whatever. Let them be overachievers. They grind, I relax. This life, it might actually be pretty good. Victoria Davenport's hostile takeover came and went like a summer storm. A complete joke. The business world was buzzing. They had all expected me, the Crawford family reject, to be crushed under Victoria's heel. Instead, not only was I completely unscathed, but I turned the tables and dealt her a resounding slap in the face, costing her a fortune. The rumor mill went into overdrive. Some said I had a secret mentor. Others claimed my grandfather still had a soft spot for me and had intervened behind the scenes. Some even whispered that I'd been playing dumb all along, a wolf in sheep's clothing. Only I knew the truth. I hadn't done a single thing. I had just been at home, watching a cheesy soap opera with my wife and eating some slightly too salty scrambled eggs. The credit all belonged to my team of overachieving employees with their superpowered imaginations. But I was more than happy to let them have it. The drama of the outside world had nothing to do with me. I just wanted to live my quiet, lazy life. That afternoon, the sun was warm and bright. Luna and I were curled up on the couch. Her head was in my lap while she read a book. Her pet, a ragdoll cat named Marshmallow, was snoozing on her stomach. At my feet lay a golden retriever named General, the old Ethan's dog. It was strange. Before, Marshmallow and General were mortal enemies, fighting the second they saw each other. But ever since I was reborn and Luna's personality had flipped, the two animals had inexplicably become best friends. Right now, General had his head resting on Marshmallow's fluffy body. The two of them were snuggled together, a picture of perfect harmony. "Look how well they get along," Luna said softly, turning a page. "Yeah." I reached down and scratched General behind the ears. "They got together before we did," she added meaningfully. My heart stirred. I looked down at her. She was looking up at me, her clear eyes like shimmering pools of water. "So," I asked, playing dumb. Her cheeks flushed a faint pink. "So, shouldn't we take the next step too?" she whispered. My throat felt tight. "The next step? What kind of next step?" "We were legally married." Could she mean? I didn't dare let my thoughts go any further. I was afraid I'd lose control. Ahem. I cleared my throat, forcing a change of subject. "There's a charity gala tonight. Do you want to go?" Wallace had sent me the invitation that morning. It was apparently the biggest social event of the year in Crestview, attended by all the city's elites. I hadn't planned on going, but now it seemed like a good idea. If we stayed home, I was afraid I'd do something I want to do. A gala. Luna looked surprised. "You want to go?" You never go to things like that. The old me, according to my memories, despised those kinds of stuffy, pretentious events. He much preferred clubs and bars. "I feel like it now," I said casually. "Besides, it's about time I showed off my beautiful wife. Can't keep you hidden away forever." Luna's face instantly turned bright red. She buried her face in her book, leaving only her sparkling eyes visible. Her voice was muffled. Who's your beautiful wife? You're so shameless." But the corners of her mouth, curved into a smile, betrayed her true feelings. At 7 that evening, Luna and I arrived at the gala. I was in a custom-tailored black suit that made me look sharp and distinguished. Luna had chosen a strapless, lake blue evening gown that showed off her delicate collarbones and graceful neck. Her hair was styled in an elegant updo, adorned with a set of priceless sapphire jewelry. She looked like a mermaid emerged from the deep sea, regal and enchanting. The moment we walked in, We became the center of attention. The men's eyes were glued to Luna, filled with awe and desire. The women's eyes were on me, filled with curiosity and speculation. Isn't that the Crawford family's waste of space? What's he doing here? Who's the woman with him? She's stunning. That's his wife, Luna Sterling, the most beautiful woman in Crestview. You're kidding me. What a waste. How'd a guy like that land her? Shuh, keep it down. I heard he's different now. A few days ago, the Davenports tried to screw him over, and he turned it around on them. Cost them billions. Seriously? Him. The whispers buzzed around us like mosquitoes. I ignored them, shielding Luna as we made our way to the buffet table in the corner. The best way to deal with gossip is to act like you can't hear it. It's not like their words could affect me anyway. I picked up a plate and started selecting food. Oysters Rockefeller, nice. Beef Wellington, I'll try that. This black truffle pate looks good too. Luna followed me, watching as I expertly piled my plate, her eyes full of curiosity. Honey, you seem to know a lot about food. A little, I said nonchalantly. In my past life, I had to learn to cook to save money, so I knew my way around a kitchen. I filled a plate, grabbed 2 glasses of champagne, and found a quiet corner to sit down. Try this, I said, holding a piece of bread with pate up to Luna's lips. She obediently opened her mouth and took a bite. Her eyes lit up. This is so good. I smiled and fed her a shrimp. She ate like a little hamster, her cheeks puffed out adorably. We sat there, feeding each other, completely oblivious to the world around us. We didn't notice a pair of venomous eyes staring at us from across the room. It was Victoria. She was here, too. She was wearing a fiery red dress, her lips painted a matching shade, exuding an aura of power. But right now, her beautiful face was twisted with jealousy. Standing beside her was her new fiancé, Blake Harrison. Blake had clearly noticed us, too. He frowned and said to Victoria, Victoria, what's Ethan Crawford doing here? And is that his wife? Victoria gritted her teeth, forcing the words out. Just some nobody. But Blake didn't seem to agree. His eyes kept drifting back to Luna. I don't know. I think Miss Sterling is even more beautiful than the rumors say. That loser Ethan is a lucky man. Hearing that, the fire in Victoria's heart roared to life. The one thing she couldn't stand was hearing someone praise Luna in front of her. And she definitely couldn't stand hearing that the loser Ethan was lucky. She took a deep breath, picked up her wine glass, and strode toward us in her high heels. Ethan, Miss Sterling. What a coincidence. I didn't even bother to look up, continuing to meticulously peel a shrimp. Luna, however, did look up. She glanced at Victoria, then leaned closer to me and whispered, Honey, who is she? I don't think I know her. I almost choked on a laugh. My wife was a master of playing dumb. Victoria's smile froze on her face. Luna Sterling didn't know who she was? Impossible. Everyone in Crestview's high society knew the name Victoria Davenport. This was a deliberate, calculated insult. Miss Sterling, you must have a short memory, Victoria said, forcing a smile. I'm Victoria Davenport. Oh, Miss Davenport, Luna said, nodding as if in sudden realization. Then, with a look of pure innocence, she asked, Aren't you the one? My husband dumped. Puffed. A guy drinking champagne nearby sprayed it everywhere. A wave of stifled gasps and snickers rippled through the crowd. All eyes were now on Victoria, eyes filled with pity, amusement, and schadenfreude. Victoria's face went from red to white to a sickly green, like a malfunctioning traffic light. She was trembling all over, her nails digging so deep in her palms they must have drawn blood. She never would have dreamed that Luna Sterling, always so aloof and proud, could be so vicious, and in front of everyone, with no regard for her dignity. Luna Sterling, don't you go too far, she finally shrieked. But Luna just blinked innocently, hiding behind me and saying timidly, Honey, she's so loud. I'm scared. I put down my shrimp, slowly wiped my hands with a napkin, and stood up, placing myself in front of Luna. I was a head taller than Victoria. I looked down at her, my eyes cold. Miss Davenport, my wife is easily frightened. Your yelling is upsetting her. My voice was quiet, but it carried an authority that couldn't be ignored. Victoria met my gaze and flinched, instinctively taking a step back. She suddenly realized that the Ethan standing before her was completely different from the pathetic coward in her memories, the one who could barely string a sentence together in her presence. His eyes were deep, sharp, like they could see right through her. The effortless confidence he radiated was more powerful than that of any of the blue-blooded heirs she'd ever met. When did he become like this? Victoria opened her mouth, but no words came out. Just then, her fiancé, Blake Harrison, came over and steadied her. Victoria, what's wrong? He frowned at me, his eyes hostile. Crawford, what did you do to my fiancé? I sneered. Harrison, you should probably keep your woman on a tighter leash before she starts biting people. You. Blake's face darkened. What? Was I wrong? I raised an eyebrow, my gaze sweeping over him. Or is this just how the Harrisons do things? Letting their fiancés run around harassing other people's husbands? Blake's face turned the color of a plum. He wanted to lash out, but something in my calm, mocking gaze made him hesitate. Ethan's sudden change had him on edge. He didn't know what cards I was holding. If he pushed me too far and things got messy, it would be his family that ended up with egg on their face. We're leaving. Blake finally chose to de-escalate. He grabbed a reluctant Victoria and beat a hasty retreat. And just like that, the show was over. The way people looked at me had completely changed. The disdain was gone, replaced by a new sense of awe and curiosity. I ignored them all and looked down at Luna, who was still trembling in my arms. I had to smile. Okay, they're gone. You can stop acting now. Luna looked up from my chest. There wasn't a trace of fear on her face. She gave me a playful wink. So, honey, how did I do? A perfect 10, I said, tapping her on the nose. She immediately puffed out her chest like a proud little peacock. Of course. Do you know whose wife I am? Looking at her, so full of adorable pride, my heart warmed. Maybe being reborn and finding her was the best thing that ever happened to me. Just then, a spirited-looking older man in an impeccably tailored suit walked toward us, a wine glass in his hand. Mr. Crawford, a pleasure to finally meet you. I looked at him, my eyes narrowing slightly. Arthur Blackwood, the wealthiest man in Crestview and the host of tonight's gala. A man whose influence was so great that when he spoke, the entire business community of the city listened. In my memories, the old Ethan had no connection to him. Why was he approaching me now? Mr. Blackwood, the pleasure is all mine, I said, my mind racing but my expression polite. Blackwood chuckled, his eyes sizing me up with obvious approval. I've long heard that the Crawford family produced a true prodigy. I thought it was just a rumor, but seeing you tonight, I see it's true. My stomach dropped. A prodigy? Was he talking about me? Did he have a different definition of the word prodigy? My reputation as a useless playboy was legendary in New York. It had even reached Crestview. You're too kind, Mr. Blackwood. I'm just an idle man these days, I said self-deprecatingly. Idle? Blackwood shook his head, a knowing look in his eye, to bring the Davenports to their knees so effortlessly in the middle of a conversation. That is not the work of an idle man. My mind reeled. So, news of my brilliant counter-takeover had already reached his ears. How was I supposed to explain this? Tell him my team did it all on their own, and I had no idea. No, that would just make me look even more pathetic. I had to bite the bullet and play the part. I gave him a mysterious smile. A simple parlor trick, hardly worth mentioning. The admiration in Blackwood's eyes deepened. Ha, you're too modest, my boy. It's rare to see a young man with your talent who is also so level-headed. He paused, then changed the subject. I hear you also have an interest in distilling. I froze. How did he know that? Since I've been reborn, I'd only just started thinking about trying my hand at brewing some craft whiskey. Besides Luna, nobody should have known. Had he been investigating me? A sliver of caution crept into my mind. I know a thing or two. I answered, my voice noncommittal. I just received a shipment of the finest corn, but I haven't been able to find a worthy distiller. I was wondering if you might be interested in stopping by my estate to offer some guidance. Blackwood extended the invitation. Was this an olive branch? I looked into his eyes. They seemed sincere, not like he was testing me. I considered it for a moment, then nodded. If you're asking, Mr. Blackwood, then it would be my honor. It never hurts to have more friends. Blackwood's standing in Crestview was unshakable. Being on good terms with him could only help my future life of blissful laziness. Excellent. A man of action. Blackwood clapped his hands together with a laugh. Then it's settled. After talking with Blackwood, the gala was winding down. I took Luna, said our goodbyes to the host, and headed home. As we reached the parking garage, we saw Victoria and Blake arguing. "Let go of me." Victoria tried to pull her arm away, her eyes red. "Victoria, have you not made a big enough scene for one night?" Blake's face was a mask of irritation. "Weren't you embarrassed enough?" "Embarrassed? Blake, why didn't you stand up for me? You just watched as that loser and his wife humiliated me. You didn't say a word. Are you even a man?" Victoria screamed. "I was thinking of the bigger picture." Blake shot back, his temper flaring. "Didn't you see Arthur Blackwood fawning all over him? Ethan Crawford is not someone we can afford to cross right now. Can you please stop causing trouble for me?" "I'm causing trouble? Who am I doing all this for?" "It's for you. For the Harrisons." "Enough." Blake shoved her hand away. "Victoria, I'm warning you. Stop going after Ethan Crawford. If you don't, this engagement is over." Without another word, he got in his car, slammed the door, and sped off. He left Victoria standing there alone, her face pale and stunned. Luna and I were standing in the shadows nearby, and we saw the whole thing. Luna whispered gleefully, "Serve her right. Dog eat dog." I smiled and led her toward our car. As we passed Victoria, I stopped and gave her a cool, detached look. "Miss Davenport, there's an old saying. Be careful who you step on your way up." I paused, looking at her ashen face. "I'd advise you to stay out of my way, because next time, you'll lose a lot more than a few $1 billion. Then, without a second glance, I opened the car door for Luna, and we drove away. In the rearview mirror, I saw Victoria slowly sink to the ground, hugging her knees, crying silently in the cold night wind like a child abandoned by the world. I didn't feel a shred of pity for her. She had brought all of this on herself. On the way home, Luna was buzzing with excitement. She chattered away like a little sparrow. "Honey, you were so amazing back there. Especially that last line. You were like a movie villain. That Victoria must be so mad. Ha ha ha. And that Blake guy is no good either. What a coward." I listened to her cheerful voice as I drove, a smile playing on my lips. The atmosphere in the car was warm and sweet. When we got home, Luna went to take a shower. I sat on the living room couch, thinking about everything that had happened. Luna's transformation, Victoria's provocations, Blackwood's friendly overtures. All of it had happened in the 2 short days since I'd been reborn. Life seemed to be heading in a direction I never could have predicted. But it wasn't a bad feeling. Just as I was lost in thought, the bathroom door opened. Luna walked out, wrapped in a bath towel. Her hair was wet, dripping onto her shoulders, the water droplets tracing a path down her elegant neck and disappearing into the hollow of her collarbone. Her face, free of makeup and flush from the steam, looked incredibly delicate and rosy, like a ripe peach just waiting to be bitten. My breath caught in my throat. Gulp. I actually heard myself swallow. "It's honey, I'm done. You can go now." She seemed to notice my intense gaze and clutched her towel a little tighter, her voice barely a whisper. I grunted in response and stood up, my legs feeling a little weak. I rushed into the bathroom and turned on the cold water, letting it cascade over my head. The icy shock cooled my burning skin and cleared my chaotic thoughts. "Ethan, you are a gentleman. You will not take advantage of her, even though she is your legal wife." But after a 30-minute-long internal battle, I finally emerged, dressed in my pajamas. The living room was empty. I assumed Luna had gone back to her own room. I felt a strange pang of disappointment. I sighed and pushed open the door to my bedroom, and then I froze. There was a small lump under the covers of my bed. Luna wasn't my bait. She heard the door open and poked her head out from under the blanket. Her cheeks were flushed, and her eyes were shining as she looked at me. "Honey, you're done." I stood in the doorway, not sure whether to enter or retreat. What are you doing in here?" I asked, my voice strained. "We're married, aren't we? Shouldn't married people sleep together?" she said, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. Well, she wasn't wrong, but we've been sleeping in separate rooms this whole time. "Aren't you afraid of me?" I asked cautiously. In my memories, the old Ethan had been a real piece of work. He'd once come home drunk and tried to force himself on her, only to be kicked out of bed for his trouble. They'd been in separate rooms ever since. Luna shook her head, then pulled back the covers, patting the empty space beside her. I'm not afraid. I know you're different now. Her gaze was clear and open, filled with a simple, unwavering trust. Looking at her, the last of my defenses crumbled. I took a deep breath, walked to the bed, and lay down. The mattress dipped with my weight. There was only a few inches of space between us. I could smell the sweet gardenia scent of her shampoo, could hear the rapid beating of her heart. Neither of us spoke in the darkness. The air crackled with a palpable tension. I felt like I was about to explode, just when I was on the verge of losing it, of doing something. A small, cool hand cautiously reached out and took mine. Then a soft, warm body slowly scooted closer, pressing against my back. "Honey," she whispered in my ear, her voice a breath of air. "I'm cold." Boom. The last thread of my self-control snapped. I rolled over in a single, swift motion, pulling her small body into a tight embrace. "Don't move," I rasped, my voice sounding like gravel. "If you move again, I can't promise I'll behave." She made a small, obedient sound in my arms, then snuggled into a comfortable position and went still. I held her warm, soft body, feeling like I was holding a furnace. I didn't sleep a wink all night. The next morning, I got up with 2 dark circles under my eyes. Luna had already made breakfast. It was another one of her well-intentioned, but culinarily questionable creations. But I ate every bite with a smile. After breakfast, I got a call from Arthur Blackwood, inviting me to his estate that afternoon for a tasting. I wanted to bring Luna along, but she said she had some things to take care of at the office and told me to go by myself. Before I left, she straightened my tie, stood on her tiptoes, and gave me a quick peck on the lips. "Come home soon." I touched my lips, the warmth still lingering there, and left the house in a ridiculously good mood. Blackwood's estate was on the outskirts of Crestview. It was massive, a sprawling compound of classical architecture, winding streams, and elegant gardens. When I arrived, Blackwood was in his courtyard, practicing Tai Chi. He saw me, finished his movements, and came over with a warm smile. "Ethan, my boy, glad you could make it." "Mr. Blackwood," I greeted him politely. "Come, let me show you my cellar." Blackwood's cellar was huge, filled with rare vintages from all over the world. But he didn't seem to care much for wine. The majority of his collection was American whiskey and bourbon. On that, at least we saw eye to eye. "I hear you're quite the artisan distiller yourself. How about you show an old man a thing or two today?" Blackwood asked, his eyes alight with anticipation. I smiled. "If you're interested, Mr. Blackwood, then I'd be happy to. Distilling wasn't hard for me. In my past life, I lived alone and had plenty of time to tinker with hobbies like that. I selected the best corn and yeast, and following the steps I knew by heart, I began the process." Blackwood watched from the side, his surprise growing with every step. My movements were fluid and confident, the work of someone who had been doing this for years. I could see he was becoming more and more convinced that there was more to me than met the eye. The afternoon flew by. I had prepared a batch of mash for small barrel whiskey, sealed it up, and told Blackwood it would be ready to taste in a few months. Blackwood was thrilled, treating the small barrel like a priceless treasure and lavishing me with praise. He insisted I stay for dinner. At the dinner table, there was a third person, someone I hadn't expected. Blackwood's granddaughter, Lily. She looked about 18 or 19, with pigtails and a sweet smile. She looked at me with a mixture of curiosity and hero worship. "You're Ethan, right? My grandpa talks about you all the time. He says you're a genius. One of a kind." I felt a little embarrassed by the praise. "Your grandpa exaggerates." "No, he doesn't," Lily said, propping her chin on her hands and gazing at me dreamily. "I heard you made that awful Victoria Davenport cry a few days ago. Is that true? Tell me everything." This girl was a little gossip monger. Dinner passed in a flurry of Lily's excited questions. After we ate, it was already dark. Blackwood had his driver take me home. Before I left, Lily blushed and slipped a piece of paper into my hand. "Ethan, that's my number. Maybe you could call me sometime." I looked at the note in my hand and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This damn, irresistible charm of mine. It was almost 10 when I got home. The living room lights were on. Luna was curled up on the couch, hugging a pillow, seemingly asleep. Some boring soap opera was playing on the TV. I tiptoed over, intending to carry her to bed. As I got closer, I smelled something. Sour. I froze and looked down at her. Her long eyelashes were wet with tears. Had she been crying? But why? My heart clenched. I gently shook her shoulder. Luna? Wake up. She groggily opened her eyes. When she saw me, her face lit up for a second, then immediately fell. She pouted, turned her head away, and ignored me. I was completely lost. What was going on? Everything was fine when I left this afternoon. What's wrong? Did someone bother you? I asked softly. She didn't answer, just kept her face turned away. I was a loss. I sat down beside her and tried to coax her. Was it something at work? Tell me, I'll help you fix it. No, she finally mumbled. Then why are you upset? She whipped her head around, her eyes red and puffy. You have the nerve to ask me? Where were you this afternoon? I was at Mr. Blackwood's. I told you I was going. Were you alone? His granddaughter was there, too, I said after a moment's hesitation. The second the words left my mouth, her tears started falling again. I knew it. I knew all men are the same. Do you have a crush on his granddaughter? Is she younger than me? Prettier than me? She cried, lightly hitting my chest with her fists, but there was no force behind the blows. I was completely floored by this sudden storm of jealousy. Looking at her tear-stained face, I was both amused and exasperated. What are you talking about? Nothing happened between us. I don't believe you. Did she give you her number? She sobbed. My heart jumped. How did she know? Did she bub my clothes? I subconsciously touched my pocket. The little piece of paper with the phone number was still there. Seeing my movement, Luna started crying even harder. You do have it. Ethan, you pig. You liar. I'm never speaking to you again. She pushed me away and tried to get off the couch, but her foot slipped and she started to fall. Careful. I reacted instantly, catching her and pulling her into a tight hug. She struggled in my arms, crying so hard she could barely breathe. I sighed and held her even tighter. Okay, stop crying. I was wrong, all right. I'll throw the note away. I'll do it right in front of you. How about that? I pulled the piece of paper out of my pocket, ripped it into tiny pieces without a second thought, and tossed them in the trash. Her crying slowly subsided. She looked up at me with her swollen, red eyes, looking utterly pitiful. Did you really throw it away? Yes, I nodded. Then you have to promise you'll never see her again, and you won't flirt with any other women, she said, holding out her pinky. I promise, I said, linking my pinky with hers. She finally broke into a teary smile, but then she leaned in and sniffed me suspiciously. You smell like another woman's perfume, she said, wrinkling her nose. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. That's the incense from Mr. Blackwood's house. I don't care. I don't like it, she declared stubbornly. You're going to take a shower right now, and you're going to use the body wash I bought for you and wash that disgusting smell off. Yes, my queen. I raised my hands in surrender. Seeing her so possessive and adorable, I didn't feel annoyed at all. In fact, it felt kind of sweet. So this is what it feels like to have someone care about you this much. After the jealousy incident, Luna's possessiveness grew even stronger. She bought me a whole new wardrobe, from my socks to my coats, all personally selected by her. Her excuse was that my taste was terrible, but I knew the real reason. She wanted to brand me as hers. She also set a lot of new rules. No drinking out past 10 p.m. No speaking more than 3 sentences to any woman under the age of 25. My phone had to be on 24/7, and I had to be ready for a random video call inspection at any time. But instead of being annoyed by these new tyrannical rules, I enjoyed them. I knew it was her way of showing she loved me. And our relationship deepened with every sweet, controlling demand. We started acting like a real couple. We'd hold hands at the grocery store, cuddle on the couch to watch movies, and argue about whether pineapple belongs on pizza. Of course, I was always the one to give in. What can I say? I'm a simp for my wife. One day, Wallace called again. He said the company had just won a bid for a landmark construction project in Crestview, and they needed me, the mastermind, to come and inspect the site. I really didn't want to go, but Wallace was practically weeping over the phone, saying that this project was another testament to my strategic genius, and if I didn't show up, the old board members would start running their mouths again. I had no choice but to agree. I told Luna about it. Her eyes lit up. Honey, can I come with you? I want to see you at work. Of course, I said yes. The next day, I took Luna to the construction site. Wallace and a group of executives were already lined up at the entrance to greet us. Welcome, Mr. Crawford. Welcome, Mrs. Crawford. The whole scene was like something out of an imperial court. I rubbed my forehead, already getting a headache. These overachievers were at it again. Luna, on the other hand, was loving it. She held her head high, looking every bit the part of the queen. I listened to a brief project report, though I didn't hear a single word. My mind was already on where to take Luna for lunch. After the report, Wallace suggested I unveil the foundation stone. I was ushered onto a temporary stage. Luna stood beside me, her arm linked with mine, her face beaming with pride. Below the stage was a sea of people, employees, reporters, and some of Crestview's elite. I even spotted a familiar figure in the crowd, Victoria Davenport. She was here, too. She was standing in a corner, wearing a plain gray trench coat and large sunglasses that covered half her face. But even so, I could feel her intense, complicated gaze fixed on me. She had lost weight. She looked tired. The arrogant fire was gone from her eyes. I gave her a brief, indifferent glance and looked away. For me, she was a closed chapter. My eyes, my heart, they only had room for one woman now, the one standing beside me. The unveiling ceremony was simple. I, along with a few of Crestview's most important figures, pulled the red cloth off the foundation stone. The crowd erupted in applause, and camera flashes went off like fireworks. And then disaster struck. The scaffolding behind the stage suddenly came loose. A long steel pipe broke free and came hurtling down, straight for Luna. Look out! My pupils constricted. There was no time to think. I shoved Luna out of the way, and the pipe slammed into my back. A searing pain shot through me, and my world went black. When I woke up, I was in a hospital. The air smelled of antiseptic. The first thing I saw when I opened my eyes was Luna, slumped over my bed, her eyes red and swollen. She had clearly been crying for a long time. Luna, I tried to move, but a sharp, tearing pain in my back stopped me. Honey, you're awake. Luna's head shot up, her eyes filled with relief as fresh tears started to fall. You scare me so much. Oh, God. She fell into my arms, sobbing like a child. I gritted my teeth against the pain and awkwardly patted her back. It's okay, I'm fine. Don't cry. How can you be fine? The doctor said you have more than a dozen stitches. You almost injured your spine. She cried even harder. A warmth spread through my chest. I tried to lighten the mood. Well, I didn't injure it, did I? Call me a hero. How can you still be joking at a time like this? She said, hitting me lightly, afraid to hurt me. Seeing her so worried and angry at the same time, I couldn't help but smile. By the way, did they find out what happened? Was it an accident or... My eyes turned cold. Luna shook her head. Wallace is looking into it. We should know soon. She hesitated for a moment, then said, Honey, there's something. I don't know if I should tell you. What is it? While you were unconscious, Victoria Davenport came to see you. My brow furrowed. What did she want? She seemed really worried about you. She waited outside the operating room the whole time. She only left after the doctor said you were out of danger, Luna said quietly. And Wallace told me that when the scaffolding fell, she was the first one to see it and scream a warning. I was stunned. Victoria? She was worried about me. That was more unbelievable than the sun rising in the west. I see, I said flatly. Whatever her reasons, I wanted nothing more to do with her. I was in hospital for 2 weeks. For those 2 weeks, Luna never left my side. She learned how to give me sponge baths, how to feed me. She even took care of the bedpan herself. Seeing her face get thinner every day, the dark circles under her eyes growing darker, it broke my heart. Luna, go home and get some rest. There are nurses here. But she just shook her head stubbornly. No, I want to be here with you. I don't trust anyone else to take care of you. I couldn't argue with her, so I let her stay. After 2 weeks, I was finally discharged. Wallace came to pick us up. He told me they had found the cause of the accident. A construction worker, deep in gambling debt, had been paid to loosen the bolts on the scaffolding. The person who paid him was Blake Harrison. My eyes went cold. Blake, he dared to touch my wife. Where is he? I asked, my voice like ice. Don't worry, sir. Wallace pushed up his glasses, a glint of steel behind the lenses. The Harrisons have already disappeared from Crestview. I nodded. I trusted Wallace to be efficient. What about Victoria? I asked. Miss Davenport. She transferred all of her personal assets to our company. She said it was compensation. Then she left the country. Alone. I was silent. I never thought she would go that far. Oh well, people make their own choices. I took Luna's hand and walked out of the hospital. The sun was shining. Honey, let's go home, Luna said with a sweet smile. Yeah, let's go home. Looking at her smile, I felt like my whole world had lit up. The first thing I did when we got home was open the whiskey I had been aging. The aroma filled the room, rich and sweet. I poured a small glass for Luna. She took a sip, tried to imitate me, and immediately started coughing, her tongue out. It's so strong. Her cute reaction made me laugh. It's got a kick. You should take it slow. But she didn't listen. She took another big gulp, and her face quickly turned pink. Honey, I think I'm a little dizzy, she said, her eyes looking unfocused. I quickly steadied her. I told you to go easy. But I'm happy, she said with a silly grin, wrapping her arms around my neck. Honey, today, I'm so happy. Why? Because you're better, she said, planting a kiss on my cheek. And because I finally know for sure that you really love me. I froze. You weren't sure before. She nodded, a complicated emotion I couldn't decipher flashing in her eyes. I always felt like I was in a dream. She buried her face in my neck, her voice muffled. All of a sudden, you were so good to me, so gentle, you spoil me so much. I was so scared that it was just a dream, that I would wake up and you would be the cold, distant Ethan again. So, you were testing me? I finally understood. All the jealousy, the possessiveness. It was all because she felt insecure. I am sorry, she whispered. I was just so afraid of losing you. A pang of pain shot through my heart. I pulled her into a tight hug. You idiot. You're never going to lose me. I leaned down and kissed her lips. Was I really bad to you before? I asked softly. She nodded, then shook her head. Before you weren't bad. You just didn't have a heart, she said. She looked up at me, her gaze serious. You never looked at me. Your eyes never saw me. We were husband and wife, but we were colder than strangers. Then what made you change? I finally asked the question that had been nagging at me from the beginning. Why had her personality flipped so suddenly? Was it really like I thought? Had she been reborn too? Luna looked at me, her eyes clear. Because you changed. That morning, when you woke up, the way you looked at me was different. The disgust and annoyance were gone. Instead, there was curiosity, a spark. You drank that disgusting smoothie I made and told me it was fine. You could have kept ignoring me, like you always did. But you didn't. You started to respond to me, to care about me, to treat me like your wife. Ethan, do you know? I waited for that day for a very, very long time. I'm not an ice queen. I didn't know how to get close to someone who didn't love me. I was afraid my warmth would be met with your indifference. I was afraid you would laugh at me if I tried. So, I built a wall around myself. I used coldness to protect my heart. Until you changed. You gave me the courage to get close to you. As she spoke, tears streamed down her face again. Listening to her confession, my heart felt like it was being squeezed by an invisible hand. It ached with a bittersweet pain. So, she wasn't reborn. She wasn't possessed. She was always her. The cute, clingy, jealous, sweet Luna was the real her all along. It was me, the worthless original version of me, who had made her hide her true self for so long. I leaned down and kissed her deeply and passionately. I kissed her with all my strength, as if I could merge her into my very soul. I'm sorry, Luna, I whispered in her ear over and over again. I'm so sorry I was late. She was crying and laughing at the same time. You're not late. You're right on time. Ethan, I love you. I love you too, Luna. Outside, the moonlight was like water. Inside, the room was filled with a tender warmth. I finally understood. I wasn't reborn to coast through life. I was reborn to meet you, my wonderful, amazing girl. For the rest of my life, I'm all yours.